Hollywood's golden age was filled with glitz, glamour, and a few legendary whispers that never made it into the tabloids. While fans swooned over these leading men for their on-screen charm, those behind the scenes knew there was a different kind of reason these stars were unforgettable. Some of the biggest names in film history were rumored to have more going for them than just talent. And let's just say, their reputations were massive. You might think you know old Hollywood, but these 18 names come with stories so unbelievable they still echo through Hollywood today. Can you guess who tops the list? 1. Forrest Tucker, the original Hollywood chief. Before the legends and the whispers took hold, there was Forrest Tucker. Towering at 6 feet 4 inches, he was already physically imposing. But that wasn't what earned him his backstage nickname. They called him the Chief. And no, it had nothing to do with any movie role. Stories about Tucker's extra special reputation weren't just whispered, they were passed around like gold. Even veteran columnist James Bacon recounted an infamous locker room story that left other actors speechless. Let's just say, no one ever wanted to stand next to him in the shower. Despite the backstage chuckles and eyebrow-raising tales, Tucker's career never slowed down. He starred alongside greats like Gary Cooper and Errol Flynn, and always brought the same rugged energy to the screen. But off-screen, the myth of the chief only grew larger, and Hollywood never forgot it. 2. Frank Sinatra, the tailor's secret. Frank Sinatra wasn't just old blue eyes. He was the guy who could walk into any room and make heads turn. His voice melted hearts, and his charisma took over any stage, but insiders whispered about something else, something his tailor had to custom fit. According to multiple sources, even his own valet, Sinatra's undergarments had to be specially designed to contain his legendary proportions. And then there were the romances, Ava Gardner, Marilyn Monroe, Mia Farrow, all tied to the same unspoken reputation. One friend even joked Frank wasn't a big man, but he made up for it. And while he never openly talked about it, the rumors never died. Biographers, co-stars, and more than a few gossip columnists helped shape Sinatra's reputation as more than just a voice, but a man with unforgettable dimensions. 3. Milton Berle, Mr. Television's other fame. Long before the internet, whispers about Milton Berle spread faster than any viral video could. Sure, he was hilarious, charming, and groundbreaking as Mr. Television. But backstage, people weren't just laughing, they were in awe. Word was Berle was so well endowed that even fellow celebrities talked about it, with shock and admiration. Marilyn Monroe supposedly joked about it on set. And Truman Capote? He made more than a few offhand comments that were not subtle. The myth grew so large that Burl himself leaned into it later in life. With a wink and a grin, he'd occasionally bring it up during interviews, never confirming the rumors, but never denying them either. He knew how to keep a crowd entertained, on stage and off. 4. Burt Ward, Batman's unexpected problem. When Burt Ward signed on to play Robin in the 1960s Batman series, he expected to battle villains, memorize lines, and maybe deal with a few fan letters. What he didn't expect? Being pulled aside because his sidekick was stealing the show. According to Ward, ABC execs were so alarmed by the bulges visible on camera, they brought in doctors, actual medical professionals. Their recommendation? Prescribe medication to shrink things down a bit. Bert refused, worried it could affect his health or fertility. Imagine being told you're too distracting. For Saturday morning TV. To this day, fans and insiders remember the bat trouble behind the scenes, and it's one of those Hollywood tales that sounds too wild to be true, except it totally is. 5. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckler's wildest rumor. Errol Flynn's name is basically code for Hollywood bad boy, handsome, daring, and impossible to ignore. His image was the ultimate romantic fantasy. But that wasn't the only reason he made headlines. One of the most notorious stories about Flynn involved a party, a piano, and a completely unconventional performance. According to legend, Flynn played a tune on the keys, not with his hands, but with something else entirely. Whether that story's fact or fiction almost doesn't matter, because it captured exactly who Errol Flynn was: bold, wild, and completely unbothered by what people thought. Unfortunately, his life wasn't all party tricks and scandal. Flynn faced serious accusations in court, though he was later acquitted. Still, the rumors, both dark and playful, became part of his legacy, a reminder of how fast the line between myth and reality can blur in Hollywood. 6. Charlie Chaplin, the silent film star with a not-so-silent reputation. Charlie Chaplin, sweet, bumbling, and funny, he made the world laugh without ever saying a word. But off-screen, the rumors about him were loud. Whispers called him the eighth wonder of the world. And no, it wasn't about his slapstick genius. Behind the bowler hat and cane, insiders claimed Chaplin's physical presence was, well, unexpectedly impressive. In private gatherings, fellow actors reportedly joked about it, and more than one biography mentioned it in passing with a raised eyebrow. Chaplin never confirmed anything, of course, but he never really had to. The rumor lived on long after his death, becoming a quirky footnote in film history. Just imagine the world's tiniest mustache, paired with one of Hollywood's most infamous myths. 7. Fatty Arbuckle, a scandal too big to ignore. Roscoe, Fatty Arbuckle, was one of silent cinema's biggest stars, beloved for his humor and larger-than-life personality. But when scandal hit in 1921, it didn't just derail his career. It birthed one of the most disturbing rumors in Hollywood history. At a party that turned tragic, actress Virginia Rappe fell ill and later died. Whispers spread that Arbuckle's unusually large endowment had something to do with it. The rumors were grisly, wild, and impossible to prove, but they stuck. Even after his acquittal, the court of public opinion never fully let go. The whispers about Arbuckle's deadly size became part of the darker side of Hollywood gossip. Today, it's a chilling reminder of how fame, scandal, and myth can create stories no one can ever fully untangle. 8. Rudolph Valentino, the lover with a legend. Rudolph Valentino was the original heartthrob. His smoldering gaze and exotic appeal made him a romantic fantasy for millions. But the fantasy didn't stop at the movie screen. Valentino's allure, insiders whispered, had a lot to do with a personal trait that was never discussed out loud, but always implied: his charisma, his confidence, and the way co-stars reacted to him behind the scenes. It all fed into a rumor that his appeal extended far beyond good looks. Biographers hinted at it. Starlets joked about it in private. Even decades after his tragic death at just 31, the myth still lingers that Valentino's legacy as a sex symbol was more legendary than anyone realized. In an era where everything was supposed to stay buttoned up, Valentino's myth stayed wide open. 9. Clark Gable, the King's Secret. Clark Gable wasn't just a leading man, he was the leading man. With his rugged jawline, smooth voice, and effortless cool, he defined masculine charm in old Hollywood. But according to those in the know, the title King of Hollywood wasn't just about box office numbers. Behind the scenes, Gable's physical reputation quietly traveled from set to set, whispered between makeup artists and cast members. Some even claimed it was part of his casting appeal, that when Gable walked into a room, his presence came with an unmistakable gravity. He never addressed the rumors. He didn't need to. His quiet confidence and commanding presence kept the stories alive, even as they drifted into legend. Gable was the kind of man who let his roles and the whispers speak for themselves. 10. Rock Hudson, the Silent Thunder. Rock Hudson was Hollywood's golden boy, handsome, reliable, masculine to the core. But what fans didn't know was that behind the polished smile was a private life filled with secrets. And one of those secrets was the subject of endless industry gossip. Inside circles spoke of his impressive build, and not just his broad shoulders. Co-stars and directors made passing comments, always with a smirk. One famously joked that Hudson's on-screen presence was only half the story. Despite living during a time when personal life was strictly guarded, especially for someone with as much to hide as Hudson, the whispers only added to his allure. He was already a symbol of Hollywood masculinity. The rumors? They just sealed the deal. 11th, Burt Reynolds, the icon with a wild side. Few actors embodied the 70s like Burt Reynolds. Suave, playful, and unfiltered, Reynolds was a rebel with charm and an image built for fantasy. But it wasn't just his attitude that had people talking. Stories from set workers, actresses, even fellow leading men painted a picture of someone whose natural gifts went far beyond the camera frame, and his infamous 1972 nude centerfold in Cosmopolitan only added fuel to the fire. He never denied the talk. Instead, he leaned into it, laughing, joking, letting the legend speak for itself. That mix of bold confidence and Southern charm made him a true Hollywood unicorn, someone who didn't just have a reputation, he owned it. 12. Billy Bob Thornton, the quiet legend. Billy Bob Thornton's tough guy roles and sharp-tongued charm made him a standout in every scene. But off-screen, whispers swirled about something fans never saw on camera, but everyone in Hollywood had heard about. According to close friend John Ritter and others, Thornton was, in their words, hung like a rope. That quote stuck, and it became part of Billy Bob's quiet mystique, the kind of rumor that turned into legend without him having to say a word. He never tried to capitalize on it. He never flaunted it. And maybe that's why the story felt even more real. In an industry where image is everything, Thornton's reputation felt like a secret passed between those in the know. 13. John Dillinger. The Outlaw's urban legend John Dillinger wasn't a movie star, but somehow his myth made it all the way to Hollywood. And then some. The infamous gangster was known for his daring bank heists and wild escapes, but a bizarre rumor followed him long after he was gone. Some claimed his private part was so large it was preserved by the FBI after his death. Others swore it had once been displayed in the Smithsonian, a claim the museum has always denied. The truth? Nobody really knows. But the fact that Dillinger's legacy went from public enemy number one to Exhibit A in one of history's weirdest rumors just shows how legends can take on a life of their own. Even if none of it's true, the myth has lasted nearly 100 years. 14. John Holmes, the king of adult cinema. If there was ever a Hollywood figure known only for his size, it was John Holmes. As a star in the adult film industry during the 70s and 80s, Holmes wasn't just famous, he was legendary. The stories about his size weren't whispers, they were marketing campaigns. Industry insiders claimed his endowment was over a foot long, and while no official measurements were ever released, the myth reached near supernatural proportions. It was even rumored that Holmes insured his asset for a six-figure sum. Whether that was true or just clever PR didn't matter. The public ate it up. Holmes's legacy is complicated, tragic, and fascinating. But one thing's for sure, his physical legend will likely outlive everything else. 15. John Hamm, the modern myth. Most of the stars on this list are long gone, but John Hamm proves that some Hollywood legends are still very much alive. The Mad Men star became the subject of internet obsession after paparazzi photos surfaced that had fans doing double takes and triple zoom-ins. Almost overnight, Hamm's rumored size became meme-worthy. Entire threads, fan theories, and interview questions were devoted to what he was supposedly working with. Ham himself stayed cool about it. At one point, he even asked people to stop staring. But it was too late. The internet had decided John Hamm was carrying more than just a show on his shoulders. 16. Liam Neeson, The Quiet Thunder. Liam Neeson's voice could command a room, but insiders say it's not the only thing commanding attention. According to several co-stars and even comedians, Neeson's physical reputation is massive. One ex-partner even claimed he had to buy custom pants. The jokes and stories became so common, they were referenced in roast specials and late-night interviews. Of course, Neeson never plays into it. He keeps things quiet, intense, and professional, just like his film roles, which only makes the legend grow stronger. 17. Michael Fassbender, a new age icon. Michael Fassbender is known for taking intense, often vulnerable roles, but in real life, he's got a reputation that's anything but subtle. It started with full frontal scenes in films like Shame and quickly turned into a storm of chatter online. Directors, actresses, and even critics began making playful references to his impressive range. While Fassbender keeps it classy and avoids the subject, fans and film insiders haven't stopped talking. In a way, his name has become shorthand for talented and incredibly well endowed. Not bad for a guy who started as a stage actor. 18. Willem Dafoe, The Art House Anomaly. Last but not least, there's Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe has built his career on haunting roles, avant-garde films, and a face that commands attention. But for all his acting range, it was an entirely different kind of role that sparked one of the most infamous behind-the-scenes revelations in recent memory. During the filming of Antichrist, director Lars von Trier claimed Defoe's scenes had to be edited, not for content, but because his natural endowment was so, in the director's words, confusingly large, it distracted from the narrative. The solution? Use a body double with more average proportions. That one comment set the internet ablaze, and suddenly Defoe's legend was no longer confined to his screen presence. He's never addressed it directly, and he doesn't have to. The Whisper Network did the rest. In an industry where exaggeration is part of the job, this might be one of the rare cases where the truth outpaces the myth. The legend behind the legends. In old Hollywood, image was everything. But behind the suits, the scripts, and the silver screen smiles were stories that made these men unforgettable for reasons no studio could script. Some rumors fade. Others, they become folklore. Whether you believe the whispers or not, one thing's clear. In Tinseltown, the biggest stories aren't always the ones told out loud. Which name on this list surprised you the most? Or did we leave someone off? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We've got plenty more untold stories where this came from.